Good evening, everyone, and welcome in. We're back again with another segment here on True Crime, True True Crime Chronicles: Pursuit of Truth. And tonight we're going over this tragic case of 18-year-old Giovanni Pelletier. Again, tragic. His mom reported him missing after he left to go on a trip, and she got some disturbing text messages, and then later on he was found. We're finna go over this here. Okay, let's see. Let me share my screen. Okay, here's what we're sharing. Not this. I don't know what this is that popped. This video that popped up. So this is 18-year-old Giovanni. So what happened was he's from North Carolina. North Carolina, I'm sorry. Um, when we first heard of his name, he first went national news back on, let's see. So this is August the 7th. This when this story ABC News wrote this. By the time this was put out on August the 7th, he had already been missing. He had been heard from on August the 1st. So again, he's from North Carolina. He had been missing a week at this point by August the 7th when everything really started coming out and being said. And so what happened was um he left on vacation to go on to Florida to reconnect with some relatives. Um He disappeared on a Friday under very suspicious circumstances from everything that was put out. He was in Inglewood, Florida with his mother and her fiance. He wanted to reconnect with his relatives from his father's side of the family, his biological father's side of the family. Um, he was not able to see his father, from what I understand. It says his father was incarcerated, but he had plans. The plan was for him to go meet up with three cousins on his father's side. Um, and this was getting closer toward the end of the vacation in Florida that he decided, hey, I want to go visit my father family. I want to go visit my paternal family, some cousins and stuff on this side of the family that I hadn't seen or connected with in a while. Uh, they picked him up. Now, and this the first thing that caught my eye. He was picked up at 1:30 a.m. in the morning on August the 1st. He was supposed to go. The drive was going to be about 3 hours or so to Mims, Florida. And his mom would pick him up the next day after he had time to spend time with them. She was gonna pick him up. He wasn't gone 30 minutes, and he sent his mom a text message that said, "Help me." First red flag went up for his mom. He didn't text her saying, "Help me." And then after that text message, radio silent. She never heard anything else from him after that. And he also, aside from sending the text to his mom, there were several other text messages that were put out to his grandfather and his aunt. Oh, to his grandfather. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's right, to his grandfather and his auntie. Um, so from what I can gather, what this seems like is he had been in communication with them while he was in Florida with his mom and decided somewhere along the way, like, hey, I want to go get with them. I want to hang out with them before we go back home to Carolina. And so they picked him up. And within 30 minutes of him being gone, he was texting his mama saying, "Help me, something was going on." The cousins, what they relayed to the police is that he began to act out unnormal, erratic on the trip, and then he jumped out of the car. And the only thing they said was he jumped out of the car on I-75 near SR 70. This was all they were telling. But from what his family, his mom and his auntie and them can gather, They just left him, even if it was his own will that he jumped out the car, why would y'all leave him out there? Because what they're saying is he was left out there in Brayton, Florida. He had it and it looked like they left him out there with his backpack and his phone because those items were found the same day that he later on in the day after his mom got that text message and within 30 minutes of him leaving. So around about 2 o'clock is when she would have got that message. And later on that same day, after it was discovered that he was missing and all of that, is when the truck driver found his belongings on the side of the road. And his mom instantly said he's not a runaway. Something is wrong. This is not in his character. It does not make sense. Mind you, he in his text message he sent the words "help me," and he sent it to 3 different people. He didn't send it to one person, and that's it. And then they call him and pick up the phone. No, he sent "help me" to 3 different people right before he disappeared. Of course, that's gonna cause a red flag when any mom, when her son or a child sends something like that, and then they can no longer get in contact with their child. Of course, that's a red flag. And the family had to put out $10,000 reward as of August the 7th. They had a 10,000 reward. The family was out doing their own searches at this point, and what ended up happening this was so tragic. So this was 2 weeks ago on August the 7th. Um, a body ended up getting found in a pond, and the family is the one that came out and said, "Hey, his body was found. He's no longer here. He's deceased." It was the family that came. It was not the police did not release anything, and mind you, the family released it because let me go. Let me go back.
Search for a Wake County teen who disappeared while on a family vacation in Florida has come to a tragic end. Family members of 18-year-old Giovanni Pelletier confirming his body has been found. Our Tom George is following the latest in that developing story for us. He's standing by with what more experts are saying on what the next steps in this investigation are. You're watching Eyewitness News at 11. Thank you so much for choosing us tonight. I'm Dewan Hogard. Bianca has the night off. It's been a little bit more than a week since 18-year-old Giovanni Pelletier was last seen. Today, his family is sharing that heartbreaking news that the body found yesterday in a pond in Florida was his. Tom George has been following this story since we first told you about it. He joined us live now from downtown Raleigh. Now, Tom, this was obviously, I mean, we know that the family wanted to know where Giovanni was, but this is not the way that they wanted to find him. Just absolutely heartbreaking here.
Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking, Dewan. The original plan was that they were supposed to be going back to North Carolina a week ago. Instead, his family's still down in Florida, first for that search, and then getting that heartbreaking news. Now, the next steps are that this is all still under investigation and still leading to some questions about what exactly happened to Gio. Bridget Pelletier posting this heartbreaking message on Facebook saying, "I am living every parent's worst nightmare, trying to find the strength to give him the goodbye he deserves." As his family mourns the loss of Gio, who just graduated Fuquay-Varina High School a few months ago, the investigation now turning to how he died. His body found not by police, but by private investigators brought in by his family, found in a retention pond near an off-ramp of I-75 in Florida, near where his backpack and phone were found.
Now they've got evidence to possibly gain from his body, from the point of him getting out of the car to where his body was found, finding evidence, DNA evidence. How did he die? What's the cause and manner of death?
His cause of death likely to provide clues investigators can then match up with the version of events given by the cousins he got in the car with. 20 minutes after getting in that car came that ominous text to his mom asking for help. His cousins telling investigators Gio was acting erratically and pulled a knife before leaving him on the side of the road.
Well, maybe he had some kind of episode and panicked, ran out of the car, and fell into the water somehow. It just sounds very hokey that would be the situation. But the fact that he called asking for help several times to different family members is something that they really are probably focusing.
Experts say one way or another, the cousins he was with will have to be fully investigated before ruling them out.
my question would be, why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you call the family? How long was it before they actually talked to the family to say, oh, he's not missing, here's what happened? That's the timeline is going to be very crucial on that.
Yeah, that 20-minute timeline, so crucial. And again, that investigation now continuing right now. The coroner says that there were no immediate signs of foul play. However, they still need to do a full autopsy, which is happening tomorrow, which will hopefully lead to some more answers, Dewan.
Yeah, a lot of questions that family and friends and those who knew him obviously have that will be for law enforcement to sort out. Tom, again, thank you so much for your reporting.
1 second. There an
Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe they came out with the autopsy. I'm trying to go find it now, but yeah. So this is when, as you can see, the family, the mom came out and said that his body had been found. Let me see here. Says decomposing body of missing T. Giovanni Pelletier, who said children found the mom help text found. And where they found him at was in a retention pond off I-75 in Florida. Um, and yeah, he wasn't found. As you can see right here, she noted that her son was found by a private eye in a swampy area that authorities said they had already scoured. So the police basically were saying they had already been through the area, but how they missed his body if his body was there? Let me see. So that was them saying his body was found. I'm trying to see. So yeah, I think this is a few hours ago. They did a, I think it was a press. Yeah, they did a press conference, and let's see. And we won't play the whole entire press conference, but we'll play it.
I'm here to get an update on the Giovanni Pelletier case death investigation. But before I get started, I do want to say that our prayers continue to go out to Bridget, the mother of Giovanni, and the entire family as they struggle during this very difficult time. And we pray that blessings are bestowed upon them, and we're here to hopefully give them some information that will give them closure at some point. Before I get to where we're at in the investigation currently, I think it's important to go back and start from the beginning. So on Thursday, July 31st, there's communications between.
So I'm gonna play this. Let it play through because right now he's giving us the timelines, and this is important to this.
Giovanni and his cousin Latrell Hearn about Latrell picking up Giovanni, who's in Charlotte County, and taking him back to Brevard County, where Latrell lives. They're trying to figure out the details. At 5:41 p.m., Latrell texts that he's going to have to use his grandmother's car, which is a white Malibu. At 8:30, they're still texting each other. They text about smoking weed. Giovanni says, I haven't had a smoke in a while because of court stuff going on in North Carolina. And he goes on to say, I definitely need a smoke. At 10:08 p.m., Latrell, Jalen Washington, and Zachary Cummings start heading toward Charlotte County. Zach Cummings is the driver of the white Malibu at the time. During interviews, Luttrell tells detectives that not long into the drive, they start smoking weed in the car, and Giovanni starts tripping. They stop the car at an unknown location along River Road before they got to I-75 because Giovanni needed to use the bathroom. Luttrell says that Giovanni is acting out and raging before getting back into the car.
So to me, if he smoked weed before, smoking a regular blunt, this like regular weed, not nothing exotic or nothing like that, he wouldn't have tripped out that quick over no weed, smoking no weed. If he's a regular weed smoker, he's not gonna just hit the blunt a few times and then start tripping out like that, like they're saying. So I'm here to believe that whatever they gave him was laced.
They continue driving north on I-75, and at this point, they're about 26 miles away south of State Road 70. At 1:55 a.m., Giovanni sends his mother a text saying help. At 1:56 a.m., he sends another message that says help, followed by me. Jalen says Giovanni was tripping, telling them, I am a demon and I will wreck this car, and says he will kill them all as he tries to open up the door while the car is still moving. This happens while they're in Manatee County, close to State Road 70. Zachary, the driver, pulls the car over onto the side of the road on the shoulder, the northbound I-75 on the east shoulder of State Road 70. Jalen and Zach are in the front seats, and they hear that Giovanni has a knife. And we know that he always carried a knife. He had two knives. He had a folding pocket knife, and he had a blade, but this knife was still in the sheath, never took it out. They said that Giovanni gets out of the car and begins running southbound in the southbound lanes of I-75. They see him in the middle of the northbound lanes and almost get hit by a truck. This is the last time they see him. He left behind his backpack and cell phone, so they took that and placed it onto the side of State Road or I-75 at State Road 70 at the entrance ramp on the east side. At 2:26 a.m., Luttrell calls his grandfather to let the grandfather know that Giovanni got out of the car. At 2:27, Luttrell calls Bridget, Giovanni's mother, but there's no answer. We know that they continue northbound on I-75. We have them stopping at the Flying J truck stop in Hillsborough County off the I-4, and you can tell by their phones that they eventually make it home to Brevard County. At approximately 6:50 a.m., Luttrell calls Bridget again. She answers, and he gives her the information on what transpired that night. At 7:13, Bridget calls the Manatee County Sheriff's Office to look for Giovanni on I-75. She says, from a 911 call that we collected, I received some missed calls from my son this morning. He was being picked up by a relative, and I was told that they left him on the side of the highway, that there was some type of an altercation and a knife was involved. She asked if a deputy could do a wellness check and make sure that he's okay. The dispatcher responds, you mentioned a possible altercation, but can you tell me again exactly what happened? She states, so I'm getting this from people who were there. He said they were in the car, and I guess they had given my son some weed, and my son doesn't normally do any drugs. I guess they had given him some weed, and then he started to freak out and said he wanted to get out of the car. And they were like, hey, just calm down, thinking maybe it was the drugs he was taking. They kept saying, calm down and everything will be okay. And then I guess he got out of the car to go to the bathroom, and that's when I received the text saying, "Mom, help," in that time frame, she said. And then he said that he continued to freak out and didn't know what was going on. They left him behind on I-75. Bridget is heading northbound on I-75 to try to locate her son. A deputy responds to that area, but finds no pedestrian on the interstate. At 7:21, a truck driver who was checking the load on his truck, it's a sod truck, pulls off in that same area on the east side of I-75, northbound, sees the backpack, picks it up. He travels to Tampa with the backpack. Bridget sees that the phone is moving, but does not know that it's a truck driver that actually has the bag and has the phone. She eventually calls Tampa PD, and an officer responds to the area where the truck driver was doing some work, recovers the cell phone and the bag. This is about 9:21 when TPD recovers the phone and the bag. At 9:28, Charlotte County Sheriff's Office opened a missing person case. And we also learned that Charlotte County reached out to Brevard County Sheriff's Office, and they were instrumental in interviewing all the passengers in the vehicle and as this investigation unfolded. They voluntarily give Brevard County the vehicle, the white Malibu that they were in. Brevard County processes the vehicle and finds no foul play, no blood, nothing, no evidence whatsoever inside that vehicle. Charlotte County reaches out to us once again to check to see if Giovanni had been admitted to any hospitals or possibly was arrested. And there was no sign of Giovanni in our system. On Monday, August 4th, Charlotte County requests the assistance of the Manatee County Sheriff's Office as they search the area that Luttrell says they dropped off Giovanni on I-75. They do an extensive search east of the interstate in wooded areas on both sides of State Road 70 and find nothing. On Tuesday, August 5th, Charlotte County comes back to Manatee County along with a volunteer team that have good cadaver dogs. Also, the Charlotte County Aviation Unit was flying overhead. We had 3 of our detectives assisting them with searching the areas that they wanted to search that day. After about 4.5 hours, they told our detectives that they're not really sure that Giovanni is in this area. Now, why is that important? We know that he got out of the car on River Road before he got onto I-75. So as investigators, they're starting to think maybe he never made it to State Road 70. Now, I can't speak for the Charlotte County detectives. I can't speak for Sheriff Permel, but they know the backpack was there, but there's no sighting of Giovanni in that area at this time. So Charlotte County is still searching, and they're searching hard in the area of River Road and I-75. But we know that that's not where he was at. On Friday, August 8th, about 3:15 p.m., Manatee County Sheriff's Office receives a call about a body located in a pond right off of I-75 at the exit ramp to State Road 70. We learned that a friend of the family had been searching the area and had located the body. I sent my entire homicide team out there along with their sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and major to process this scene. The medical examiner investigator also responds to help with the processing of the body. We do a deep X-ray, a scan of the body. The ME does that night. There's no signs of any trauma to the body. There's no indication that he was shot. There's no indication that he was stabbed. There's nothing at that time that helps us determine cause of death. On Saturday, August 9th, detectives and crime scene techs go back out to the scene. They conduct another thorough investigation of the area, search of the area. Our drone unit also flew over the pond and the surrounding area, but didn't find anything of any value. On Sunday, the District 12 medical examiner performed an autopsy of the body. Preliminary indication was no signs of trauma or foul play, but the cause of death is still undetermined. On August 11th, my dive team goes back out to the pond to search it once again to make sure that we did not miss anything in the initial searches. They find nothing. We're trying to pinpoint exactly where Giovanni got out of the car. That's our main focus. My detectives reach out to Brevard County, who help us reach out to Giovanni's cousin, Jalen, Latrell, and Zach, and we request that they interview again with us. They do so freely. We respond to Brevard County, and we interviewed the three. They gave us the exact same story that they gave Brevard County. They also agreed to come back to Manatee County to help us pinpoint exactly where they pulled off the side of the road and where Giovanni got out of the car. So that brings us to today. We started reviewing all of the FDOT cameras in the area. This is complicated at times because these cameras, they will move at certain parts of the day. They're not always focused on one particular area. So we started to do our best to locate any movement whatsoever that would give us an indication that Giovanni was alive at that time. And we found Giovanni at about 2:18 a.m. on the night in question on I-75. And we want to show that video now.
And it is hard to make out this video. Even watching it live, it was hard to make out this video. I try to find a little bit clearer version. It's still gonna be hard because it's like he said, these cameras are moving, constant move, they not focused. So, but this is the camera.
It's difficult to see at first, so bear with us. Sir. Yep. This is the 44th Avenue camera, located about 1.2 miles north of State Road 70. Right here, it's hard to tell. You can see some movement over here on these are the southbound lanes. He's coming across right here. Get out of the way. It'll clear up a little bit here in a second. He has on a white shirt. You can see him coming across. Here's a truck trying to avoid hitting him. And you can point him out right here. He's coming eastbound. Now he's walking back.
Right
westbound.
here. Right here is him.
And there's a concrete barrier right here. And down here is where the pond is. So then we continue to check cameras. And we get lucky at a Lowe's, which is located on the west side of State Road 70. We have a camera that's pointing at the embankment now that he comes down at 2:19 a.m. Play that, Ben. I want you to stay focused right here.
Up here. It's him. Up here. Okay, yeah, they got this circle.
Now that's a steep embankment. He's coming down there almost an uncontrollable sprint. If you've ever gone down a hill, you know what I'm talking about. But the pond is right here at the edge of that embankment. I mean, the important thing that I want you to see, there's no one chasing him. There's no one around him. In fact, when he's coming down that embankment, the vehicle is 2 miles away. So there's no one in this area with Giovanni. There's no one that's chasing him. He's by himself. And what we don't know is what happened when he hit that pond. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. The death is undetermined. So we know that we don't have anyone that comes down that embankment after him. They don't look for him. He's there, we believe, until he was located by the family friend on Friday, the 8th. And we really don't know what happened once he got into the pond. And once again, I think anything that I say would be pure speculation. We're still waiting for the ME to determine the cause of death, and we're also still waiting for the toxicology. So we don't have all the answers. We know this is the last sighting of him that night.
The 2024 hurricane season was tough. Helene and Milton caused incredible destruction. I lived it. My PGT custom windows and doors stood the test. Get a $100 rebate on every window, $200 rebate on every door. Don't react to a hurricane, prepare for one.
Let's see. So what we just saw was the press conference that was held. What day was this press conference held? Oh, it was held today. Okay. Press conference was held this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Um, yeah, Tuesday morning. Okay, so they haven't counted his toxicology, so they don't know what drugs or anything is in his system. They waiting on that. Okay, so what we know from this case, he left at 1:30 with the cousins. By 1:55 is when he sent the first text message to his mom that said, "Mom, help me." He also sent the same "help me" text to his grandfather and also to an aunt. Let's see, pause this. So he texts mom at 1:55 according to the timeline that the sheriff gave. Then he also texts two other people helped me at that time. Also the cousins at some point, what time it was? Let's see. Around 2:27 is when one of the cousins called up to the grandfather and called the mama. Okay. So that's the timeline. And then by then he's already out of the car running, as we just saw from the surveillance footage that they have of him. By the time the cousins called the grandfather and called the mama, he'd already been jumped out the car and running through the up and down the highways and stuff and ended up where the pond at. Now, I give you this. They said they found his body. He wasn't stabbed. He wasn't shot. He wasn't beat. None physical hadn't happened. Cool. Okay, I take that. But we gotta look at the whole part. He was in the car with three people smoking what he thought to be was just marijuana. We waiting on toxicology to come back, and it could just be that he smoked marijuana and that it was a potent strain. We don't know. But from how they say he was acting and the way he was dodging, dip dodging on them highways, I'm putting my money on that they laced that marijuana with something else. Something was in there that made him trip out, whether it was um PCP, they laced it with PCP or they laced it with something that had him tripping out, had him saying something, I don't feel right. I want to get out the car. And then they were saying something about the knife that he had. And they confirmed that he always carried two knives with him. One is a folding pocket knife, and one is one that is in a sleeve, and it was in his sleeve. And so yeah, it's known that he carried those two knives. So I don't know if they kind of using the fact that he carried those knives to add to that story of him and being crazy and was trying to do something to them in his sticker. They were saying he was a demon and he got a knife, he gonna wreck the car. We heard all that in the press conference. They putting out he said all this out there. I'm starting to wonder if they didn't lace their marijuana when he smoked it and he started tripping out because he was late, it was laced and whatever he had, they had in that weed he hadn't had before, and it caused him to trip out. And he jumped out of the car because he didn't know what was going on with it. When somebody's laced or they're on drugs that they've never been on before and they start to trip out like that, you know, is they're not being their normal self. So he was whatever drugs he had, it caused him to have some sort of episode, and he hopped out of the car and took off running. And my thing is, okay, he ended up in that pond. They didn't call right away when he hopped out of the car. They could have stopped the car right then and there and called 911, say, hey, my cousin was doing drugs and now he's kind of tripping. Now he's having some sort of psychotic break or something. Why didn't they do that? Why keep driving and leave him just out there running these streets in the dead of the night? And leave him by himself, knowing what he was going through, knowing them drugs in his system, and them drugs had him acting abnormal. To me, even if nobody beat him, stabbed him, shot him, even though they said none that was found on his body, if the toxicology come back showing like they said he on some weed, 9 times out of 10, I'm thinking something was in that weed that he smoked that night, or the weed that he smoked was a different type of weed that he had never smoked before, and he got hold to that weed and he started tripping out. And to me, they need to be charged with something. Even if it's not murder, they need to be charged with something because they gave him those drugs, and the drugs that he took directly led to him jumping out in that car and ended up in that pond at night. And please leave me some comments if y'all don't feel like I'm going in the right direction. If y'all got some opinions and thoughts on it. Of course, all this just my opinions and my thoughts. I don't know. It could be different. We don't know. Toxicology could come out and tell us something totally different. We'll know when it come out. Um, like they said, he was basically running towards the water. Let's see. Like I said, we're gonna keep an eye on it. I just want to come in because I know not everybody gets the chance to. Because I know I miss a lot of the press conferences when they live, and I go back and watch them and get my information or what have you. And in his case, that's what I had to do. Had to go. I had to go back because I missed this one live too because I wasn't home. But I went back and I wanted to play it for everybody, and I watched it the same time y'all did. Got a lot of my information at that time, but now the other information about the text message, I got that weeks ago when it came out about he came up missing. He texted his mom. But as far as the timeline and the video footage, I watched it in real time with child. I hadn't watched it before. But it's just to me it's just sad all the way around that he just was on vacation and decided he wanted to reconnect with some of his cousins, and people on his daddy's side of the family, and it ended in such tragedy with him being passed away, his body being found in their retention pond. My condolences goes out to his family. I'm so sorry about that. I wish this had a different outcome. That they found him out there on the side of the road, but he was still alive. He just had ran out there, but it didn't turn out like that. And my condolences to his mom. This lady's very hurt. It's the fact that he left with some people and he never came back. And the last thing she heard from her baby or anything, the last contact with her baby was him sending a text message saying, "Mom, help me." And she missed it because she was sleeping. I know this got to be eating her up. And I just want to say, you did nothing wrong, ma'am. You were sleeping. Please don't beat yourself up. Of course, I know that's not, me saying it. It's not gonna make it any better. But my condolences, my prayers goes out to mom and the rest of the family, everyone that loved Giovanni. Um, and you all will be in my prayers. And I'm so sorry that this happened because this is something that should not have happened. And of course, we saw, yeah, it wasn't nobody chasing him. But we're gonna keep an eye on this. We're gonna wait on the toxicology reports, and when the toxicology come out, I'll bring that update whenever that comes out as well. I just wanted to come on here tonight briefly and just bring that press conference to you all, to people who may not have seen it, and bring my thoughts on it. And it's a tragedy all the way. Whether it was, whether they do the toxicology come back and say he just had marijuana, THC, nothing more in his system, his cousin still should have stopped their car tonight and said, call 911 and say, hey, he running down these streets and on the highway, he's high. And they probably didn't want to call because they were smoking marijuana, probably had more in the car. But what's more important, y'all had his marijuana in his life. And it looks to be that the more important thing to them was getting home and getting the weed out of the car before they told anybody what happened to him. And it's just sad. It's just sad to see. And I hate that it turned out that I hate that it turned out like that. That his family found him and while they were searching. Just sad. But I just wanted to come and share that um on that. And I'll keep you all updated on that. Any updates once the toxicology report come out. Like I said, I come back with that as well. Let's see, I can stop sharing for a moment. Let's see. So it looks like we got a breaking update on baby Emmanuel. Let me see. And so yeah, I'll come back. That's gonna be it for tonight. Thank you everyone for watching and tuning in. Whether you watch live or you watch later on after the live ends, I want to thank you for taking the time to look and watch me and tune in. This has been another episode on True Crime Chronicles Pursuit of Truth, where we're all about pursuing the truth out here. Thanks again and have a good night.